Welcome to the world's first Straight Talk Solarcast. This is your go-to podcast for answers about solar. Brought to you by Solar Harmonics in Northern California, who invite their customers to own their energy by purchasing a solar panel system for their home, business, or farm. Each episode, we discuss questions facing people making the decision to go solar. The solutions to your questions are given to you straight by one of the leading experts in the solar industry, Jamie Duran, president of Solar Harmonics. Feel free to search our library for answers to questions that you're facing when considering solar. And now, here's Adam Duran, our host with the questions, and Jamie Duran, our solar expert with Straight Talk Solarcast.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello, Adam.
How's everything in the land of solar this week?
It's going really good. There's so much that's happening in solar, and there's so much that's happening in AI and data centers. So I think the next few podcasts, we're going to be talking quite a bit about that, it's really, you can't go one day without somebody, at least 3 or 4 news stories about how data centers are, the scourge of existence. And really it's, data centers are coming one way or the other, and people don't want them in their backyard. And so, we're coming up with ways that they can work with the community and work with solar providers to really roll it out and not completely fix everything that's wrong with data centers, but at least mitigate what's going on with, because one of the biggest things is that data centers use a lot of electricity. So would you be able to guess how much electricity, of what percentage they're using now of the grid in the United States?
20%.
Not yet, but pretty soon.
Oh.
So Lawrence Livermore Labs are using 4% of the U.S. electricity already. And by 2028, they're planning that to be 12%. And so that is quite a bit. And so obviously with homes going solar, it really, I think we're still at about 6 or 7% nationwide of how many homes that have solar. So these are homes, obviously, that are using power. And then potentially if a data center comes into town, that's going to pretty much take up all the capacity of that grid. And then it's going to be, how in the world are we going to be able to power the data center without sacrificing our clients and not raising rates, because people are really terrified about electricity rates going up. And
of course. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, why? That's a valid thing to be terrified of, because we've experienced it without data centers.
Exactly. Yeah. Just with air conditioners, we've had power outages. And, in California, if it's windy and warm, PG&E will just shut off the power for everyone in a high fire danger area without data centers. So it's, these are things that we have to consider. And really, solar and batteries could be a real nice mitigator for the data centers. One of the big things is that a data center, when it's starting up, they have to figure out where they're going to get their power from. And so they're using everything, natural gas, nuclear, geothermal, and the utility. They're trying to build their own microgrids, and they're finding, this is really hard. And second, it's really expensive. And third, it doesn't even get close to the amount of power that we're going to need. And so there's lots of natural gas engines that are going in that can provide a lot of power. And they can run, as long as there's abundant natural gas, and they're still saying we have abundant natural gas, that's going to make the most sense. But with solar, let's say they're in a community and they're getting a tremendous amount of pushback. One of the things they can do is community-based solar, where they can roll it out in a large field, or someone's a group of homes, or a group of car dealerships, for example, that use lots of electricity but haven't gone solar. And this could be a way that they're freeing up that capacity for the data center. And so the data center would have that amount available. And one of the big attractive parts of this is that, when a data center comes into town, it will take anywhere from 5 to 10 years for the utility to actually be able to build that substation, sometimes even 15 years of a really large substation, and then all the cable that goes in, and all the transformers, and everything's got to be underground now. So they're finding, oh my God, that's super expensive. Where solar can go in relatively quick, 2 to 5 years to really get going. Not a lot of upgrades needed because the homes already have that infrastructure built in, or the businesses. And so it's a real untapped source for the data centers, and I think it could be a really good answer. Now, and I say answer real loosely. It's a mitigator more than an answer, but it can really help, like I said, with the community and their relations, because, like I said, nobody wants them in their backyard now, and so it's just a matter of, well, if you were getting solar and batteries for your school, or solar and batteries for your churches, every church in town, or all the low income housing and everything, and that offset your property taxes in some way, which is a dream. But in any event, it's something to consider, and there are some companies that are working on that, but it's a real slow process. So for all of our data center listeners out there, this is something you really should get serious about, because it makes so much sense on a lot of different levels for them. But the solar could just be a layer with the overall energy, their energy mix, that solar could be part of it. And not just, obviously solar on the data center is kind of a no-brainer, but they definitely need a lot of space. And it's going to be certainly really every solar company out there, if you have a data center coming to your town, you may want to talk to them about, I'm sure you probably already have, about adding solar to their building, but also solar for the community. It makes perfect sense, because they seem to not really care about the tax incentives or the monthly savings or anything. It's a whole new group of customers that could really revitalize the solar industry as well. So it's pretty neat.
And you have to get to those people at the early stages of planning, I would imagine.
Early or during, it's really, that's why, almost every day, if you look in the news, there's so much resistance right now to data centers, even going in Texas, which was, arms wide open for a long time. And so they have data. And so a lot of the electricity that's being used is coming from the grids, and Texas already has a lot of problem with their being able to supply power to their grids. But in any event, it's kind of something to, where if a data center was coming in, like you said, in the early stages of planning, and they come in and to PG&E and say, we need hundreds of megawatts of electricity from you guys. And PG says, well, we can do it, but it's going to take, 15 years for these substations. It's like, well, no, we need this today, basically. But if they said, we need hundreds of megawatts, but we're going to invest in local generation, from homes and businesses and schools, storage, and then we're also going to improve the energy infrastructure by getting new sub-panel or new main electric service panels, maybe do an underground construction for the utilities, or offsetting some of that cost, because they're going to be going, and that's a much different conversation. And it only, like I said, mitigates one slice of the data center pizza pie that people are opposed to. Lots of emissions and water usage and all, heating up the ground and all that kind of stuff. But it could really be something to consider for a lot of the data centers out there, and a lot of the communities that are also struggling with, they would love the tax revenue of a 300,000 square foot data farm, but that's a lot of money to. But can they actually get it approved? And it's getting tougher and tougher for all of them to do. And no matter how much they're paying the politicians or putting up parks and things like that aren't really, those are nice, but they're not really directly impacting the people who are they're affecting. And this is really a good way that they could do that by rolling out solar to their, and going with local companies rather than bringing in the national companies that are there and then disappear, and then it's hey, I have a problem with my system. Who do I turn to? So it's going to be interesting as this unfolds, because as we triple the AI electricity usage, over the next 3 years. That's pretty crazy. And like I said, when these things take 5 years, it's going to be even more. So it's a real issue, and it's happening like every day. There's a new news story. So we're going to be talking about a lot of these news stories as they come out. And I'll put the reference for these in the show notes, and should be a lot of fun coming up. And hopefully everyone will be super excited to talk data centers and AI and how we're going to overcome some of these.
And solar, of course.
Well, yeah. It's just, you need solar and natural gas, solar and, they say nuclear, small and large scale. That's pretty terrifying too. So hopefully, nuclear is great when it's running, but at the end of life, they don't really have a good solution. And it's great if there's no natural disasters. And, California is known for a lot of earthquakes, and fires and things like that. So that would not be a great match, I don't think. But talk about that more.
All right. We're going to wrap it up there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, listener, for taking another few minutes out of your week to learn a little bit more about solar. This category is always something going on, something changing, something new. And Jamie makes sure to keep us abreast of this subject. I mean, wow, always something new going on in the land of solar. If you would like to check out a library of our past episodes, you can go to solarharmonics.com, click on the podcast link at the top of the page. If you have a question for Jamie for an upcoming episode, you know what to do. Go to our Facebook page, Straight Talk Solarcast, send us a message through there, and Jamie will be sure to get to it on an upcoming episode. If you have a friend considering going solar, this would be an amazing podcast to refer them to, because it will save them thousands upon thousands of dollars over the life of their system. And if they happen to know someone somehow connected to a data center that is currently being considered, this would be an amazing thing and podcast to refer them to. Until next time, everyone. See you.
That's all for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Straight Talk Solarcast with solar expert Jamie Duran. Join us each week for more answers to your solar questions. Speaking of questions, got some? Email us at solarcast@solarharmonics.com, and we'll be sure to give you an answer in an upcoming episode. This episode of Straight Talk Solarcast is brought to you by Solar Harmonics, the leading solar energy developer in Northern California, who invite you to own your energy. Visit them on the web at www.solarharmonics.com.